What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the show. We are your hosts, Chase and Myles, and we are at the Lucky Duck. Hello, everybody. Hello. Myles, say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
This is our special holiday episode. We're not going to name any holidays because we're PC on this podcast, but it's probably Christmas,
All of them.
Hanukkah,
Even Easter.
and those are the only two holidays that I know.
Kwanzaa.
I'm sure there's others.
There's
Yes.
Kwanzaa.
I don't know what that is.
The Satanists have their own holiday.
Okay.
And then, of course, there is the one we don't talk about. And we won't talk about it.
Is it Russian?
No. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your lovely, warm, and cozy holiday season to tune into such a shit show of a show. No, I'm kidding. We have a great show for you. We are drinking some amaretto sours. Cheers, Myles. We've got our little maraschino cherries garnished. It's looking good. I'm actually gonna just dunk the cherries right
That
in.
way it doesn't slip off and poke you in the eye.
Yeah.
And then I have to sue the podcast for damages.
If you guys want to know how to make such drink, you can easily find the recipe on our Instagram because we post every cocktail that we make on the show on our Instagram. Follow us there, and you'll be able to make all the drinks that we make on the show at your own home, at your own pace. Maybe you want to make it right now. Pause the show. Go make yourself this cocktail. Come right back. We will be here when you're done. Don't worry. Get yourself that amaretto sour and sit back because we got some good shit to talk about.
Yeah, so go make your drink. We're going to be here. We're going to take a break. 5-minute break.
Yeah, here's a little brief moment of silence for you to make your drink and for you to pause. Ready? Pause now. And we're back. Thanks for coming back. How many amaretto sours are you guys in? Why don't you live tweet at us?
This is my third.
This is your third?
Yeah.
Wow. Myles.
I drank third while we've been on this.
Myles will go 3 cocktails and then he just blacks out. I don't think he's going to have to come back and listen to this episode in order to find out what he actually said. He's sloppy.
My last sentence didn't make sense.
No.
I think I said I've had third instead of 3. So I've definitely had at least 7.
Woo.
Yeah, it's a little spicy.
It's a little spicy.
I'd have to say the last one you made was slightly better.
Slightly better.
Yeah.
That's okay. This is actually our second attempt at reaching you guys through the holidays because we did have some technical difficulties the first time.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
We're so dedicated to this that we did this podcast on Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
And it didn't work out. There was an issue, technical issue. It happens.
Christmas gremlins.
It is now Christmas Day, and we're filming this again. That's how committed we are.
We love the fans. We love you guys. So yeah, let's get into it. What do we want to talk about? Well, for first off, Santa Claus.
Have you guys heard about 5G
What?
and Verizon? We already talked about that. Go back to your podcast.
Yeah.
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus. Well, Santa Claus is what we talked about Santa Claus the last time.
We did, yeah. That he's a Russian spy, right? Something like that.
Yeah. We actually got a call from Putin after we released that episode, and he's not happy.
Yeah, we would like to apologize to the American people.
We'd also like to formally apologize to the Russian state, the Kremlin, and Mr. Putin himself.
And the CCP, whatever that is, we were just told to say that.
Yeah, we were told by Putin himself, or I think it wasn't actually Putin; it was one of his advisors.
Yeah, nobody talks to Putin.
Let's get in some CCP stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll do that."
We said no, but the thing is, we have pretty much all of our listeners are Russian. You're probably Russian, and we were a little bit afraid that it would hit our numbers.
Yeah.
So we apologize.
So let's talk about something that I'm really passionate about.
Okay.
Cheesman Park. Have you ever heard of the legend of Cheesman Park?
It's not related to Cheez-Its, like the Cheez-It Bowl, right?
No.
Okay.
No. But if you all are wondering about the Cheez-It Bowl, it is a football bowl game, and the trophy is a big glass bowl full of Cheez-Its,
Wow.
which seems like kind of a letdown when you win. And
Yeah.
it's just a bunch of Cheez-Its. Like, here's your reward, Cheez-Its.
The
like,
good thing is that if you're the coach, instead of getting Gatorade all over your back and getting wet and sticky, have to take a shower after, you're getting Cheez-Its on you. They're dry. They're crusty. You can even eat them. You're probably hungry.
I'm just glad that it's the Cheez-It Bowl and not the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which I'm not on. I'm having a hard time understanding the value of Duke's Mayo sponsoring a whole entire college football bowl game.
Never even heard of this mayonnaise.
Well, you, sir, are missing out. Let me tell you.
Actually?
Yeah, look it up.
They sell it at
Duke's Mayo.
Target or something?
Yeah, you can find it in your grocery aisle.
What are you talking about?
Duke's Mayo. We did it.
I've never seen this. This is a
What are you talking about?
They have it at Target. It's like the cheapest mayo you can buy.
Dude. Listen. It's not cheap. That shit costs money.
Smooth and creamy? Oh, this might be the kind of mayonnaise that they use. It doesn't have sugar in it, though, so I don't know. But in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Because the mayo there, they eat with French fries and shit. We don't do that here because our mayo is disgusting.
Holy fuck. That's not good. So back to Cheesman Park.
Yes.
So Cheesman Park is a park in Denver, Colorado. And for those that are thinking, what the fuck is going on with this park? Why are you talking about it? Why are we even discussing it? Well, I found out a little tidbit of information that might be interesting to some of you listeners. So back in the, what is it? Mouse, look this up. Because I want to know. I don't want to give our listeners false information, but I think it's in the early 1800s, maybe late 1800s. It's a big range. I apologize for the inaccurate generalization. But in the 1800s, Denver decided that they wanted to convert a well-known cemetery graveyard into a park, as one does. And they decided, hey, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And so they employed a man, I don't remember his name, but he was in charge of basically excavating all of the dead bodies in the soon-to-be park and move them to another location. And halfway through that process, they got into all kinds of logistic issues. Bodies were getting washed away. It was a fucking nightmare. So, what did they do? They were like, enough. Let's pause the whole excavation of bodies. And you know what? We're just going to level the entire park or graveyard as it is, with still thousands of bodies still in the ground. And we'll just put a park right on top. Nobody's got to know. Don't make it a big deal. Boom. They do it, and now there are still bodies under the park. Thousands of bodies under this park. It's quite crazy.
Do you know the history of the bodies? Like who was actually buried there?
No, give us some notables.
So the cemetery actually opened in 1858. So that's when they first created that or established that area as a cemetery. And it's 160 acres.
Whoa.
And I don't think Cheesman Park is actually 160 acres. I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem that big. So that's kind of weird because everything else around Cheesman Park is people's homes and buildings.
Ooh, so are you saying that some of that land actually was park and some of it was houses?
Yes.
Ooh.
So in 1865, 40 acres of the cemetery became Mount Calvary.
Damn.
Which was a burial place for just Catholic people.
So if you were Catholic and you lived in Denver in the mid-1800s, there's a good chance that you would have been buried, if you died, in this site.
So look it up. And then in 1872, which was only like 10 years later, Congress declared it as federal land.
Ooh.
And they sold it to the city of Denver.
How does one do that? How does what is the process of like declaring a land as a graveyard? Is it owned by a private entity? Is it I'm guessing it is, right? If are you in the business of owning graveyards or cemeteries? I mean, there's money to be made, right? When you go and get a plot to bury yourself or your loved ones, it usually costs money, unless it's like some kind of, foundation or that you belong or whatever, some special thing. But you have to buy that little plot. You always say like, oh, we got a couple plots for the whole family in this place. So what? How does the government come in and be like, you know what, federal land now, and then boom, we're gonna sell it back to the city, make a couple bucks.
Do you technically own that piece of land where your body is buried?
That's a good question.
I could be a landowner.
Even when you're dead,
I should buy just a whole plot somewhere. I'll buy like 50 plots around the U.S. and I'll technically own 50 pieces of land.
So when you die, are you saying that you want me to cut your body up into 50 different pieces and bury each piece at a different location throughout the U.S.?
I think you'll go to prison for that.
Not if it's in your will. All right. If it's in your will, everything's copacetic. Okay. It's funny how things work. Wills are totally legally binding. So if I go tomorrow to my lawyer, first off, I need to find a lawyer, or I could just go to LegalZoom. I wonder if you do that. Can I write my will in the LegalZoom app and get it certified?
You can. Go to LegalZoom.com right now / at the Lucky Duck
and get 15% off your will rights services.
So in 1873, the cemetery became known as the Denver City Cemetery. So that was 1873, okay?
Okay.
Remember, it started back in
the 50s.
1858. So this isn't that much longer.
20 years. How many bodies can they rack up in 20 years?
Especially
here?
Back in the 1800s, not that many people living here, so you can't be having that many people dying every day, right?
Although, the death rates in the 1800s.
True. You lived till you were like 50.
You were like 35. You were an old guy.
Yeah.
You were an old guy. They were like, oh, well, you got a couple more years left in you, buddy. Happy 30th birthday.
50 was like being 100.
Dude, you get a cut on your forearm and you're dead in 2 days from infection.
So in 1873, they're like, okay, it's a cemetery. 1890, Denver's like, we need this to be a park. We don't want it to be a cemetery anymore. Probably because they wanted people to like start coming downtown, right? Start building out. And there's this huge cemetery there.
When you build parks, typically what might happen in that situation is communities start to form around it.
Yeah.
Start to develop some businesses.
Families
people come in. Makes it family friendly. Also, good point to bring up is Denver, or I think it's Colorado in general, has the most parks per capita than any other state in the United States. So early on, they were like, let's up the parks. We got to get them parks in. Colorado, beautiful place to do parks, so I don't blame them. Everywhere you look, there's a nice place to sit. Maybe put a couple walking trails, plant some trees.
Yeah. Side note for all of our local listeners, this year your car registration will include a state park pass.
Ooh. Wait, for real?
Yeah.
Damn.
But you pay extra for it. But you pay about half the amount you would normally pay.
How much do you normally pay?
So
for
I want to say,
for
instance, if it's like $60,
yeah.
I think it's like $60 or something. You're paying $30.
Oh, and then you automatically get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you automatically opt in. But if you have 2 cars, you don't really need 2 passes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel you on that. Can you opt out of that? Is there like a don't sign me up for the park pass?
You totally can. Yeah.
Wait, for real?
When you renew, you need to tell them.
Yeah, I don't want to do that because
I
I don't ever go to state parks.
I'll definitely do it.
You will.
I don't go to the state parks here that often.
Yeah,
but
you're more a national park guy.
Yeah, but yeah, state parks too. I mean, you can't forget the states.
Let's not suck up to the states now.
But for me, a lot of the recreation I do is parks and stuff, and so I should be the person who's supporting that.
That's
regardless of whether I go to these specific parks or not. Anyway, in 1890, they're like, okay, Denver, we need to turn this into a park. City officials go to Congress and they're like, hey, Congress, we'll name this after you. And it became Congress Park.
Damn, they were sucking up hard to Congress. So, like, listen, they're like, we want something in return. We're looking, we'll figure it out. We'll look the other way. And they're like, how about Congress Park? They're like, stop. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Named it Congress Park. It was starting to smell a little bad. So they're like, let's turn this into a park. That's the natural thing to do.
Yeah. So they were like, hey, E.P. McGovern. Yes, that was...
E.P. McGovern?
Yeah.
Dude, best last name ever.
Okay, first off, don't know what this is. Is it a person? Is it an entity? McGovern, probably the last name?
It sounds like anything with an MC and then whatever after. It's like usually a last name.
Let's question ourselves. Was he the governor because of his last name?
That would make sense. If you got the last name McGovern, just put yourself in the ballot. Don't do any kind of campaigning. If I see that there's a candidate running for governor called E.P. McGovern, whatever the fuck his name is, I'm voting for that guy.
Yeah, exactly. So he had to take, and this is going to answer our question, from 1858 to 1893, 5,000 graves.
Wow. So 5,000 people had died and were buried in this site between the years 1858.
About 40 years.
So about 40 years. Okay.
Yeah. And so E.P. McGovern and his handlers needed to start moving these. So shit goes down. Allegations come along. They're cutting up bodies, putting them in child-sized coffins. This is alleged.
Allegedly.
And apparently Denver decides, okay, McGovern, you're dismissed, and we're just going to not move any more graves.
Yeah. They're like, the damage is done. It's a PR nightmare. People are chatting about it at the local saloon. Listen, newspapers are not looking favorably on the situation. We got to shut this shit down.
Mm-hmm. So what happened after that? It's not called Congress Park anymore. Well, the mayor of Denver at that time was like, we need to turn this shit show into something beautiful, because you can't just call it a park. People are going to go there and be like, dude, there's an arm on the ground, right? So he goes around and he says, we don't have money. Denver's poor. Apparently we didn't mine enough gold. So he goes around to all the rich people and he's like, hey, please donate. And what do you know it? A man named Walter Scott Cheesman.
Oh, Walter.
And he gave, what do you guess how much money he gave?
I'm going to guess $25,000.
$100,000.
What? Back then, that's like
it's probably like
$1 billion today.
Yeah, almost. And that is when it became known as Cheesman Park.
Listen, if it's going to take $100K back then to make a park, what the fuck? This already sounds like they're trying to launder money or some kind of back. Like 20% of that probably went into the mayor's pocket. Like, listen, political donation, put my name on the park. That's pretty impressive, though. $100K. They get Walter Cheesman to pony up. They put his name on the park. They level it. They say, listen, it's not a graveyard anymore, guys. Mm-hmm. Look, it's the fucking park.
Yeah.
Don't forget about all the bodies that are like half dug up and some that are still not dug up. And now we have Cheesman Park.
Cheesman Graveyard. Park.
Park.
I'd like to make a correction. It wasn't Sir Walter Scott Cheesman. He had actually died in 1907.
Ooh.
His widow and kids were like, we have all this money. Here you go.
Yeah. It's a classic spend dead daddy's money.
Because Cheesman molested a lot of the children who were buried at the park.
That sounds like a fib.
Probably. I had to make the story interesting.
That's true. So
that'll be the sound bit we use for our TikTok promotion.
So we have dead bodies still on the ground, some kind of half dug up. They level the park. They slap a new name on it. Boom, problem solved. Goes away. Nobody's ever going to think about it again. But we remember. Oh, we're so good at remembering. And now, to this day, several accounts floating out there of people hearing voices, getting spooked, seeing premonitions of dead people. I mean, it's kind of a spooky place at night. I mean, I don't know why you'd be in this park at night. Maybe you're looking to suck a dick or something in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Or
Like Sir Walter Cheesman.
you're running around with your little e-meter thing looking for ghosts.
Oh, shit.
And now there's some houses built around the park. I
Yeah.
wonder if you live anywhere around Cheesman Park, reach out to us with your story. We'd love to hear it.
Is your house possessed? Have you had an exorcism?
Mm-hmm.
Have you had a priest at your house?
Holy water involved?
Have you been burned by a ghost?
Have you been touched in your no-no square?
We play Phasmophobia, so we know a lot about ghosts. We can
We
help you.
are expert ghost hunters. C&M Ghost Hunters, Inc.
Yeah.
So
in 1950, the city of Denver was like, hey, Catholic Archdiocese of Denver, we need the Mount Calvary land.
where's that at? In Denver?
So that was part of the 160-acre cemetery
Right.
that the Catholic, I guess that was just their part, and then Cheesman Park was just a other portion of it.
So there's still, at that point in time, a graveyard next to the park.
Yes.
Got it.
So they decided to get rid of the whole Mount Calvary status and built the Denver Botanical Gardens on top of it.
No, that's why there's so many good plants that are thriving
Yes.
there, because the
Right?
dead bodies are fertilizing them.
Freaking genius. Whoever had that idea was a
Oh
genius.
my God. Also, it's unlikely that anybody that was buried there believes in reincarnation, because Catholics do not believe in reincarnation. However, if you, for some reason, found yourself in that cemetery after you died, and you did, maybe there's a possibility that you came back as a nice-looking plant that people now walk around and take pictures in front of and all that. There's a happy ending to that story.
There is maybe a happy ending. I also do have the list of people who were buried there between 1889 and 1993.
Well, damn.
Like Alexander and Alan. And
Alan. Here's to
Bessie
you, buddy.
Angelo.
You son of a bitch. You
Yes.
died too soon, but we still remember you.
We do.
A moment of silence for Alan. All right.
That
Nice.
might have been his last name. I don't know. I think it says how much they paid too.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. It just says amount
Oh,
and then like 10.
$10?
It doesn't have a dollar sign, so
Back
it's
then.
10.00.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I guess.
$10.
But I wonder if you add up all of these, because some of them are like 5, 3, like mostly 10s and 5s.
Yeah, you get a bad spot. You're paying
Times
$3.
5,000. Somebody paid $40 for this.
Jesus, that's the primo spot. That's the VIP spot. Right in front. Okay.
Yeah.
Right in
They
front.
have a whole listing of this. It was like which block they were, which lot, and which grave.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you retire a graveyard, which sounds so weird to think about, but when you like, either move it or you got to preserve those details, right?
I mean, this was
That's
from
the
the
whole-
1800s.
That's the whole idea of a cemetery, is so we can remember the people that came before us or who passed away. So when you remove that, is it like there's a grace period of or like a statute of limitations on graveyards? It's like, all right, this guy's been dead for over 200 years. We got to get him out.
Yeah.
Reuse the plot.
I even have the dates here of when they were buried.
Like, do we really need to remember this guy 200 years?
Exactly. That's the thing. If he's famous, Nicolas Cage, yes, obviously. That's why he has the pyramid.
Obviously. I mean, I'm sure Alan
Spaceship.
had some significant achievements in his life. I mean, he
Oh,
probably
no, he lived in Aurora.
he probably saw like one of the first ice cubes ever like manufactured by men.
Or
You
the
know?
shoelace tip.
Oh, the shoelace tip, the
Yeah.
old shoelace tip,
It has a name. Don't
revolutionized the way we
Shoelaces.
walk.
remember it. No.
Listen,
Yep.
you want to know another weird, eerie story?
What?
You want to know another weird, eerie story? What? 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 What?
Would it have to do with a tour guide?
Did we already talk about this? Maybe at the one
Might have. You have another one.
I have another one. There was a tour guide.
Yeah.
Actually, in Lake City, Colorado, which is one of the most far out remote towns in Colorado. It's more of like a southwestern kind of remote town. It was booming during the days of the mining gold rush. They soon found that there was no gold there. Bummer, because now that city's like.
How was it booming if there was no
There were
gold?
because speculation. There was one guy who was like, "I swear there's gold
I saw
here,"
it, and then everyone moved.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
that was a big grift move back in those days. There were so many people not finding gold where they were promised. And it was be like, "Hey, listen, you pay me $20, I will take you to where the gold is. And after that, it's on you."
Bro, why didn't they just Google it?
Yeah, dude, because Google was really hard to get to, okay?
You had to
They
go to
only
the
had
library?
one Google and it was like really far away.
Okay, I'm sorry. No.
So this guy, he is a tour guide, and he's telling these guys, "Listen, I'm gonna take you where this gold is, and we're gonna all be rich." And the guy's like, "All right, cool." I think there's like 4 or 5 of these guys, and they go out and don't come back for like a month. It's really cold. It's in the wintertime. It's really cold out. Eventually, they find just the tour guide. And they're like, what's going on? And he's like, they're all dead. What do you mean they're all dead? Turns out they got stranded and a winter storm came and they couldn't basically get out or find their way home. So the tour guide ate the guys he was touring or guiding to survive for like a month or so, and was basically like found guilty of cannibalism and hung.
Yeah, so
It's called the Colorado Cannibal.
I have a few problems with this story. Number one, there was a winter storm last night, and I walked across the top of my parking garage at least a foot of snow in tennis shoes, and I made it. So
Listen,
I don't know what these guys were doing, but
the Nike tennis shoes back then were not as well insulated as they are today.
okay.
All right, you got to consider those little tidbits.
I'm thinking they were probably wearing high performance boots, probably furs if they're going out into the wilderness. You know what I mean?
It's a really weird case, and if you guys are interested in learning more or the actual story, since I tend to butcher most of the stories I tell you guys, it's called the Colorado Cannibal, and I think his name is Alfred or something like that.
Yeah, Alfred.
Um,
Second thing is, it was only a month,
yeah,
and there are how many people?
I think there was like 5 or 6.
Okay,
people.
let's say on the lower end 4. That's one person per week that he ate.
Yeah.
You could live off of one of those people. You know how much meat that is?
You know,
An
you get
entire body?
hungry, You get hungry. Some of it spoils faster than you can eat it. You know?
No.
Yeah.
It all spoils at the same time. What are you talking about? And it's a winter storm. He could freeze it.
Here, listen. What if it's like the first guy dies?
And how did he get lost for an entire month?
He was not smart. He was a little on the not the so bright side.
I agree with the jury. I've heard all I need to know. I've rested my case.
Hang him. That's what Miles is saying.
So what happened?
Hang
to
him.
He got hung?
Yeah, huh? He's dead.
What'd they do with his body?
Kaput.
Did they sell it at the local market?
Yeah, they were like, I wonder if he tastes good.
They're like,
If he's been eating other guys, what does he taste like?
He's like,
now?
he's human fed. Human fed
So
meat.
weird. Speaking of weird, really eerie things, in the same area, or maybe it's a little closer to Denver, there was a guy who was a chicken farmer, or just maybe a farmer who had chickens, okay? And he goes to butcher one of the chickens, cuts its head off, and if you don't know, sometimes when you cut the head off a chicken, it'll like the body will kind of can like run around and still like do things
Yeah.
without the head. It only usually lasts like 30 seconds to a minute, and then it slowly kind of withers away.
A whole minute.
But this chicken was alive for like more than a month after it got its head cut off. It was such a spectacle that this farmer, decided to take the chicken on like a roadshow tour, and people would pay money to see this headless chicken. It's like a zombie chicken.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Imagine how many other chickens he killed
dude.
to replicate
To
it.
try to do it, he's
Yeah.
like, once it died, he was like, "Dang, all the money's gonna dry up.
Yeah.
I gotta keep going.
He got rid of his farm just for that. He's like, oh, magic.
I'm gonna sell everything and do this for a living."
What if he didn't know it was the first chicken he ever cut off the head off of?
Oh man, he'd be like, "This is what happens."
Starts telling everyone,
Yeah.
and everyone starts killing chickens. Is that what's happening right now
What do you mean?
with the chicken shortage? Do you think the farmers, they're going through some conspiracy
I
shit?
got some questions about
It's
that.
2022.
Is there like a chicken meat shortage, or is it just the eggs? I'm confused.
So, I think that they use different chickens for meat and for eggs.
So the
right?
issue was just with the ones laying eggs, because
So I don't know exactly what the issue is because the farms are so massive now that
Yeah.
it could just be like it happened to be a couple of the ones with the egg laying ones.
Yeah, the egg laying ones.
I don't know. Maybe there's a lot more chicken.
Mm.
Maybe some of it's being imported from other countries.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe like
Yeah.
eggs. You can't do that with eggs. Who knows? But yeah, it's basically the bird flu. Kills birds, gives them. It's like their flu, right? They don't get flu shots.
Finally, somebody else getting fucked by a virus other than
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah,
you know.
we're kind of still getting fucked by it though.
Yeah, are we though?
Well,
are
The
we?
price of the eggs that we buy pretty much doubled or tripled.
That's true.
And now there's no eggs. Like
Yeah.
there's not even eggs you can buy.
I sound like an older person when I go to buy eggs, and I'm like, I remember when these were 98 cents a dozen. Now I'm paying like $6.
That was like 6 months ago.
I know. I know. Times we live in.
I started buying the what do they call it? The free range eggs, because I learned that you can buy regular eggs, which are the ones where they stuff in the cages, which I didn't feel good about. You can buy the cage free, but what I learned about cage free is usually they're still in a very small enclosed space.
Yeah.
And then there's the free range one, which have a larger piece of land or something where they can actually run around and enjoy their lives, apparently. So I was buying those because, yeah, maybe it was like if I could buy a carton of eggs for like $2, these were like $4. And eggs are pretty cheap to begin with. So I was like, okay, I'll buy those. I can afford it. Was buying them. And then they went up to like $7. And I was like, well, I'm not rich. So I started buying the slave eggs again.
Oh no.
And then I can't buy eggs at all anymore.
Dang.
Yeah.
Do you eat a lot of eggs? Is that part of your routine diet?
Yeah, that's probably why I have high blood pressure. Just thought about that. But I don't
think
know.
that's good cholesterol, not the bad stuff.
Yeah, I always tell us something different, right? When we were kids,
know.
it was bad.
I know.
Now it's good.
Yeah.
Now it's bad again.
Yeah.
Because the birds have the flu.
They're like, don't eat the eggs.
No, I don't eat that much eggs. I mean, I would say I probably have eggs at least twice a week. Not much more than that. So not a huge part of my diet, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a part of my diet. I have them.
Well, there's eggs in this drink, the Amaretto Sour.
Fuck. Where did you get eggs from?
I know a guy. I know a guy.
You know, you can buy cartons of egg white.
Just the egg white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would use it often enough.
No, I like the orange round thing.
Well, I meant because you put egg white in this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
egg white.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
I
I'm not like drinking. I don't drink on the regular, really only until we do these things.
Okay. Sorry.
They're like, that's a lie, Chase. You have a bar in your basement.
Yeah.
There's no way you're not drinking
Look
constantly.
how many bottles of alcohol you have.
Yeah, they're still there too.
Yeah, it's been in there since the beginning of this podcast. I don't think we've finished probably 2 of the bottles.
Yeah, we did a couple dents and this, you know.
You also have a tap
Mm-hmm.
that has 3 on it.
Yeah.
And they're usually all full. They're right now, but they're usually all full.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Anyway,
back to the story. So the cemetery. No. Yeah, that's crazy about the chicken.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's just one of those phenomenons that happen.
It was kind of like the chip shortage, right?
It's exactly like the chip shortage. This chicken story relates totally 100% to the chip shortage.
I was listening to the old CEO of one of the major U.S. chip makers. At some point, I don't know. He's not a CEO anymore. I don't know what company it was, because I think it's like Intel designs them and stuff, and then they have a company, I think, that actually manufactures them. I don't know if it's Intel who does, or maybe they just made other types of
like
chips.
In Taiwan or something.
I don't know. I mean, they make them in the U.S. as well. And he was saying that basically we went from having a chip shortage because a lot of people went online, a lot of people were buying more things that requires more chips, more graphics cards, more computers, more cars. All those things required tons of different chips.
Yeah, there's an internet of things and everything.
Yeah,
nowadays.
Exactly. Like a $20 Alexa that you put in your house, or camera, or like the Roku thing that goes to your computer.
I bought a new TV and I had to like turn off all the privacy settings on it because I was like, I don't want this thing listening to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I made it a not so smart TV.
Oh, really? That's did you buy the same TV?
No, I bought a Sony.
One? So Sonys are the worst.
Yeah, the worst.
I don't know. So anyway, he was saying that we went from this shortage, everything was expensive because of it. They couldn't put out enough cars, blah, blah, blah. And then the government was like, we're going to invest $1 billion and $100 million into chip manufacturing.
And then Nancy Pelosi's like, I'm going to buy some chip stock, baby.
Yeah. She sold it. It's okay.
It's all good when you sell it. It's all good when you get caught and you immediately sell it.
So he was saying that the problem with it is that they built all these manufacturing factories, and now there's a recession coming.
Right. So the demand for the chips won't be there.
Yeah. People are buying less things. It's not like they've started creating more chips, but there's a number of reasons that there's not as much of a demand anymore.
Well, I think once we get out of the recession, it's like an investment for the future, because I think, to their point, like, we can't be so reliant on Taiwan or China to basically give us these things when we need them the most, And so it's like, okay, there may not be a crazy demand for chips in, the next coming months or the years or whatever, but at least we now have the capabilities, to make our own shit here when shit hits the fan, or we go to war, or there's another virus or whatever. So really, we're setting ourselves, I think it's a net gain either way.
I think his point is that because chips are now so cheap, because the demand has gone down, it's not really that profitable.
Yeah.
And so it kills innovation.
Gotcha.
So he says that in China, they mass produce chips and whatnot because the government owns those companies and they fund them, and that's all they do. And then he said, if you compare that to America, you have these companies like Intel who are the innovators. Like, they are the companies that design the chips, and then the companies who are making them. It's not just designing them. It's like most of the chip now is software. They have to build the hardware too, and in order to build them smaller and smaller and smaller, or the transistors, everything smaller and smaller, put more transistors on a CPU, you have to build technology to build those,
right?
To build robots and shit. And he's saying that that in the US, the reason they're able to do that is because they're profitable. Like they can make so much money off of it.
Right.
And
What happens when they're not profitable?
Yeah. So he says, like, it's just going to be what do people invest in? People invest in things that are the most profitable.
Well, I think you have like people like Apple who are now making their own processors, don't have to rely on other companies to make their hardware. There's still going to be, the latest MacBook that comes out, and they'll need to innovate. It may not be at the pace of how it was a couple years ago. I think that's fairly typical though in any recession, right? Is like innovation stops because demand goes down. There's less profits to throw at R&D to drive those types of, I guess developments within the company and product lines and all that.
Now you have AI, which requires massive amounts of computing.
Yeah.
In order to make AI profitable, you have to make computing cheaper.
Right.
So I think, you'll have Microsoft and Apple investing in companies who are making better chips.
I think you and I really missed out on the information age growing up. I feel like I would be a lot smarter now if I had things like Google in the palm of my hands growing up. I feel like, if you're a 13-year-old and you're like talking with your dad and he like gives you some kind of like explanation for something, you could just easily fact check him right there and then. Or if you're looking at something and he's like, oh, hey, son, look at that. And you're like, oh, cool. And then you instantly Google it and you're like, oh, this, tree is from, the Macedonia era and it's this and that. Like you're constantly being fed with information that has some downsides. You ever see those videos on TikTok where it's like the main audio content is in the top half and then there's just like some random video game footage in the bottom? You know why that is?
Yeah, because the footage is entertaining. It's like
background noise. It's stimming.
Yeah,
basically.
And you're listening to what they're saying,
but you're watching and being entertained by the other video. That's a problem.
There's like a separation of your brain where like the visual aspect is somehow able to pay attention to that, while the hearing is picking up something else, and your brain's somehow reading both of those things in a different way.
I just feel like I know people who I talk to. When I talk to them, I can clearly see they're not paying attention to me. And then like sure enough, I'll talk to them about what we talked about, and they have poor recall on what we were talking about. I feel like that's going to be a byproduct of this like overstimulated, economy of entertainment and information.
Yeah. It's like people who say they can multitask.
Yeah, it's like, no, you can't.
Like, I can multitask. No, you're on your phone. I
can
multitask.
And I think there are studies saying that multitasking actually is a myth. You can't. You're ineffectively dividing your attention.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think, growing up, if I had easy access to information, my curiosity would have been fed a lot more than it was, I guess. And now we have those fucking, like ChatGPT or GPT. They need a better name
GDPR.
For that. They need to call it Alan or something. Give it some kind of like humanistic personality, like type of name.
Yeah.
And
Jasper AI is another one.
Jasper AI.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's another language model type.
I'm not sure what it's based on, but I think you can ask it to write your blogs or write your papers or anything.
Write my essay.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if
that one you pay for.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm sure the OpenAI one you'll soon have to pay for that as well once they get out of like beta.
Once it's smarter.
I feel like university is going to be weird. It's going to be a lot of like no technology, in person, handwritten test type stuff where you won't be able to cheat. No more essays. Essays are going to like be gone. Just like a lot of maybe public speaking, like recite or like, or like something along those lines. Like, how are we going to, we're going to need more AI to basically check against
Remember
AI work.
back in school, like in elementary school, you had to you would have like 45 minutes and
Yeah.
you had to write an essay.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like that at that point you can't. I mean, you could have a
Yeah.
Neuralink telling you what to
Yeah,
write.
yeah, yeah. Just something like feeding you information.
But the thing is, like, if you have that already, then okay. So if you have Chat GPT and you go home and you write something, okay, you're not gonna always have the AI with you all the time. But if you have something like Neuralink who can tell you to write that in class, you're always going to have that. So you actually don't need to know how to write an essay.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like the same thought process of like, why am I learning calculus right now? I'm never going to use it in my career. It's not about calculus. It's not about the topic that you're writing on necessarily. It's about the critical thinking and the problem solving and that's involved in doing those tasks.
Yeah.
Because through that, there is some valuable, discipline and skills that you learn along the way. I feel like if there is a situation where everybody's hooked up to Neuralink or whatever, and they've got AIs just feeding them information, that maybe it's like a place where you go to learn, and as soon as you walk through the door, it's like an EMP, like everything electronic just shuts off.
Yeah.
Everybody just kind of goes like brain dead for a second.
So
like, rebooting.
Yeah. And then you're like, why do I feel so stupid?
Yeah, I feel so foggy all of a sudden. Shit.
Yeah, but I think at some point there's probably going to be, I mean, maybe for a period of time before singularity, there's going to be kind of a lot of people will be lazy.
Yeah.
And you'll have kids who grow up not doing work, not learning things, not learning to think critically, and just relying on AI.
Yeah.
And then growing up not having an advanced skill set. Because basically what AI will do is take all the nuances out of everything.
Yeah.
There's no real benefit to writing an essay, like physically writing it and giving it to someone.
Right.
The knowledge of knowing how to do it is beneficial, but actually writing the essay isn't.
Yeah.
So you can use your AI to learn. There's going to be people who utilize it and say, teach me these things.
Yeah.
So that I can better you and I can do something in society that will better our society.
Yeah, it will be like universities will be defunct because you won't need to learn anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like online learning. Like there's people who you can sit in an online university class and not pay attention or not even go to any of the classes, still get A's on the test because you cheat and pass the class.
Yeah.
And then there's people who actually learn the things because they want to do something with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be kind of that where AI isn't useful enough to do everything for us.
Right.
Except talk.
Yeah.
But it's it's there to give us enough assistance where you could get away with doing that. It's like cheating in life.
Right. Right. I feel like I might just become a plumber.
Well, robots can do that.
No, they can't.
They will.
One day. But there's so much nuance.
No, I don't think
plumbing.
so. I think if you ask the AI how to just describe
He'll
the
tell you how to
situation,
fix it, but actually getting him into your home and through a crawl space to do it,
really hard. Little robot. He's a big robot. He's like a person, and then his hand comes off and drops to the ground, and it's another robot.
I feel like we're pretty far away from that than we are the other thing.
The thing is, what the AI can do is it's standing there. It's a very simple robot, and then it recreates itself into a more sophisticated robot based on the scenario.
Whoa.
It teaches itself how to do that, and then does it. Yeah.
So it 3D prints itself.
There's so many things in that like could happen in the future, like teleportation.
Yeah.
Discovering like fusion.
Yeah.
The whole thing that the discovery they made recently. Well, not the discovery, but
quantum computing.
The proof of being able to do that. Quantum computing. Yeah. All those things that could all dramatically have an impact on each of those other things. Like if you can net energy from fusion, then you now have an enormous amount of energy. which can make running computers cheaper, which can make AI smarter and learn how to make running, developing computer chips more efficient.
Right.
Like all those things. Traveling. I think an AI at some point, like imagine this: if I run a laboratory on researching cancer or something, I have to take some data, put it into a computer, run some analysis on it, to type the code to run the analysis. Then I think, oh, what if I change this one variable? It's like, oh, I have to do those things, right? I have to get another piece of software to do this, that. And AI can do all those things so quickly.
Yeah.
Right? It knows how to do it's like an experiment that might take you one day even. It could do in 5 seconds. And imagine how many more experiments it could do. So all of the things you want to test, it could do almost instantly.
I wonder if it's going to have the ingenuity to create something new, because right now these AI platforms are just derivative off of information we've already, like will it know to, like, I don't know, create the next great video game without being derivative of something else?
Yeah, but isn't every other video game derivative of something else?
Not necessarily.
That's like the whole thing of every story's ever been told.
Yeah. But like some of what makes things so great is taking something that's already existing, but doing it in such a different way, something that nobody's ever thought of before. That's what makes things so interesting. And
yeah.
I think AI might have a hard time doing that because they only are derivative models, right?
Yeah, but I think they're derivative models, but imagine you might create something based off of your experiences in life.
Yeah.
The people you met, the conversations you had. Like people who are storytellers, who are writers, they're usually writing based off of
unique experiences.
Exactly, yeah.
Can AI have unique experiences?
So I think that it can, because it can have experiences from different people, right? So
that's assuming that you're getting good data in from people, right? Crap data in, crap data out.
Yeah, but it's the same thing in life. It's like I can detect if you're giving me crap data. Like some people are very good at lying, but I can tell if you came and told me that like George Lucas was a woman. I would be like, well, I don't think that's true. And then I could fact check it.
Yeah. Well, I like for instance, dealing with things in the real world, if I asked AI, describe to me in a short story what Mount Rainier looks like today.
Right.
It wouldn't be able to do that because it only has historical information on Mount Rainier. From whatever data set it was given, basically. So it couldn't give you like what I'm saying is it's like still laggy. There's latency because it is only being able to work on the data that it's given, and usually data has latency, right?
Yeah, but that's the same as humans though, because you also can't describe to me what Mount Rainier looks like today.
Right, unless I was there.
Yeah, and so if an AI has
a
digital
camera
sensors, it could also tell you.
Yes.
Or it could just link into all the cams that are around Mount Rainier that point towards it, like from my computer.
Yeah.
And see what it looks like 100 million times faster than
over.
You could.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. That's assuming that it would have access to that data.
But that's my point is it can take all of these different data sets, experience, human interactions between it and another. If I can talk to the AI and it can learn from me, it can be like this.
Right.
It can profile me, and then if it talks to another person again in the future, it could say whether this is Myles or not, based on how I talk to it.
Based on the amount of time you spend with it. Maybe you were out. Maybe you were like off one day, and that was the only day you spent with the AI, and the AI thinks it has you figured out because it spent an entire day with you. But it was a Wednesday, you woke up feeling with a little creak in your neck, you weren't really feeling yourself. What I'm saying is the AI is only as good as the data it's given. And how are we going to understand the authenticity if something's correct or not? Or it really it lacks the what makes humans so interesting, which is like the spontaneity of it, the pulling, the sudden aha moments
Yeah.
that you come like, or the accidents that happen, right? Like uh, penicillin accidentally was made, or like the guy that discovered LSD discovered it on his way home because he had taken something, and he was on his bike ride, and all of a sudden he's tripping his balls off, and because he made a slight error in the thing and he didn't realize it. Like those super uncalculated, super spontaneous, very human. Because and where does that come from? It's like a soul thing. It's like a consciousness, like energy field that's pushing us and to do things in ways we can't explain it, right? It's like a feeling that you get when somebody's looking behind you. Like you can kind of feel like somebody's like behind you. You have that eerie feeling. It's kind of like the spidey sense. Some people like have you know experiences like that, and say that it's like a legit thing. Whether or not that's real or not, I do think it lends itself to, there's like this, we can call it like a processor basically, and it's something that's super organic, something that can't be replicated, something that nobody can ever understand. We're never going to be able to understand what makes us tick, right? I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's like the processor, the thing that gives us the uniqueness and the authenticity of being human. And I don't think you can ever truly, you can get so fucking close with AI, but it never will be as good. And that's a theme that's explored in like sci-fi movies when there's like robots trying to like become human, right? And it's like you're never going to be able to do it, but you can get close.
Yeah, but I mean, does it matter?
No, it won't. It won't, but it will. Right? Because your point that you're going to make is like, if we can't tell the difference, is there a difference? And it's like, yeah, if a tree falls in the wood and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? It's like that argument. It's like, yes, of course it fucking matters. Of course it makes a sound. So like, what, perception's reality? I don't buy that. I mean, I buy that, but I don't wholly believe that, right? I think there is a reality even that we can't perceive. It's like, people who do psychedelic drugs, they come back and they say, I saw God, or I was talking to like beings that are little fucking munchkin men that told me the truth of life and this. Maybe there's something in that. Maybe they are actually tuning into a different frequency that we in our biological current form can't perceive, just because of the way our brains currently work. But maybe they're unlocking some kind of deeper perception of reality that we currently can't perceive yet. So in that case, if that is true, all of that, then perception isn't reality. It's just perception.
Yeah. But why? I mean, it still doesn't matter if like your original point was an AI can't make an original movie or something.
It could. It just won't. I just don't think there will be that like.
I don't think you'll notice.
No, I think you would. I think you will. I think there are hundreds of movies made today, and only the really special ones, the ones that really have that like special sauce, really bleed through and get noticed. That may be untrue in some circumstances because money's involved and all that, and that starts to really screw with the creativity part of it. But it's like, I don't I'm not quite convinced that that special sauce can be recreated, by AI. I think it comes from somewhere much deeper, somewhere much more spiritual, and I don't think AI is spiritual. Not yet.
You just have to teach it about God.
I just gotta teach her about God.
Scientology.
Yeah. I want AI to completely debunk like religion and Scientology and
Yeah, I think that's impossible based on your whole spiel about it.
spirituality.
Because
It comes from somewhere deeper.
if we knowing how many realities there are, or proving how many there are, and that you've discovered all of them is impossible. Like you can't, if it's not a discrete set, you can't prove that you can't discover them all.
Yeah.
There's just an infinite number of realities. You can't. There's no way to prove that you've discovered all the realities if you don't know all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you can't.
It's like the same with the universe or the
Yeah.
universes. We can't prove that we've discovered the furthest point in the universe or something. I don't know, something like that. But if there is in some form, some universe, some reality, spiritual beings, then the AI has to. There's no way to disprove it that exists.
It's like AIs right now are dumb in the way that it won't understand, or it will look down upon humans in the faith aspect. It's like faith is something that you have in something. It could be in anything. It could be in things that you've never seen before. It can be a feeling. It could be a gut feeling, that gut feeling that you have that something's going to work out. So you put faith in something.
Yeah.
I feel like AI will understand that, but it won't be able to generate that faith
but
organically. It will be able to be like, I have faith in Florida State to win their bowl game because based on the statistics and the numbers, this is how it will likely play out.
But that's what your faith is too. Like
no, not necessarily.
Yeah, your faith is like there's dumb faith and then there's educated faith.
Yeah, but
so dumb faith would be like FSU is 1 in 10. I think they're gonna win the next game because like God's on my side, or spiritual, or like the universe is on my side, or whatever. And then there's like educated faith, which is FSU's 7-3.
Right. I think I'm specifically talking about the dumb faith, the faith that makes no sense at all. The kind of faith that drives people to go to church when they're Catholic or Jewish or whatever. It's the stuff that like you're constantly told God doesn't exist. There's like proof that this, like, half the Bible isn't true. It's super derivative of other stories. There's so much evidence stacked up against believing and being spiritual and religious, but you do it anyway because there's that feeling that you have. That's that dumb faith.
Yeah, but I think AI can know how to feel that way.
Like, it could know how to feel that way, but I don't think it can be. I think it has to be told to feel that way rather than it becoming organic, becoming doing it unconsciously, right?
I think it depends what you want like how you're designing the AI. So if you're initially designing it to say like, I want this AI to learn and become the most powerful thing.
But even then, when you say that, it's still it's programmed to do that. No, it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, like, but it's kind of like when you have a child, you grow it into something. Right? You're like, I want you to become a doctor. I want you to have a good life.
I think it would be more convincing if you were like programming an AI to do all the things, everything logically, nothing faith-based. And at the end of the day, it comes out and has that faith-based. And you're like, where did this come from? You weren't programmed to have faith in this dumb faith. Like, until that happens, I'm like not convinced that it has that special sauce.
Yeah, but maybe it does, because why? I mean, what if it goes, okay, I know the probability of FSU winning is low, but I've learned over time that I should have faith that FSU will win because that's the team I like.
Mm-hmm. I
Why,
guess
why can't
another
it do that?
because what is it? How I would ask, like, how did you come to the conclusion that you like FSU? If it was just like I randomly picked a team and that's what it was, or I was built in Florida, so the logical answer to
Yeah,
like
that's it comes to something, right?
yeah
Like
yeah
you went to FSU, so you're a fan of it. Maybe
mm-hmm.
it grew up in a FSU lab, like it knows that it came from an FSU lab, so it thinks, oh, I should like FSU because I'll have all these data sets that tell me that when people are
Yeah.
come from something, they like where they came from, right?
And I guess I also an interesting comparison would be like if humans dream, like what's the equivalent of like AI dreaming? You know, like where could that come from? You know, is there that special sauce that would allow an AI to actually dream? You know, have that. There's things that we do unconsciously that we're like, I have no idea why I did that, and it's like, where did that come from?
Your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your brain.
Or
Yeah, it has a brain.
or if you're spiritual, you could think it's like a soul or something.
Yeah, you could think that. That's a belief.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
it's like it's something that science still can't prove. It's why we have such a heated debate over abortion, right? It's like, when does consciousness come into play? We will never know, right? It's something that maybe we will one day know. Maybe it's like AI's like, hey, I figured it out. It's at this point when you can measure it by putting a fucking probe here, and once this thing turns on, then hey, they're conscious. So never say never.
Yeah.
However, in our current understanding of the situation, I'm led to believe in a theory form, not factual, that you cannot understand where that comes from or when it's conceived.
So I think that humans and AI, robots, computers can't be the same because a computer can be significantly more advanced than a human. Like,
Right.
think about this: if you found a way to clone somebody, you would like, okay, I'm gonna clone somebody's body, but wipe their memory. Like, this is the AI thinking. I'm gonna clone Miles, wipe his memory, and then inject all of my knowledge into his brain. It wouldn't work because my brain can't fit all of the knowledge that the AI has. It can't think that fast, and it can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the AI would have to find some formula of itself to be like stupid, basically.
Yeah, it's like when I've seen college football games where it's a moment of like great decision making and they don't choose the statistically favorable play to call, and you're like, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that. And it works out.
Doesn't matter.
And they win.
It doesn't
It's
matter.
like I saw Notre Dame do that this year.
Yeah.
It was like the like everybody in the game would have said don't do that, and they did it, and they won, and they pulled it off. If an AI was replacing the head coach, they probably would have called a different play, and it may not have worked out.
Right.
And it's like, what is that? Like, what drove Chip Kelly to make that call? It's that secret sauce. It's that humanity. It's the thing that will always put us apart from the machines,
right?
Until we can't perceive the difference.
I think there is something about that. It's probably short-sightedness.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he knows that he needs, like, it would mean more if he won the game than if he lost the game, but he did this statistically correct thing. Yeah. Because if he followed statistics over time, he would probably win more. But he's like, if I win now, it'll be more important.
Right. He'll create a legendary moment that will cement legacy.
And so I don't see why AI couldn't think that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. If that's
But the AI probably wouldn't.
Right.
Again, it's going to be based on all the data sets that it knows. So if it thinks it should act that way, it will.
If it knows that it needs to create a legacy moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's like, I need to be the most powerful thing, I have a million years to do that.
Have to win at any cost.
Yeah. I'm going to do the statistically smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Which is probably what AI will do eventually.
Right. Yeah. It'll be complex enough to have empathy. So it'll make decisions based on empathy.
Yeah.
Right. Like an AI, if it really wanted to win at all costs, it would play all its best players. Don't give any of the people who may like, maybe there's a kid that hasn't played all year and you feel bad. So there's that empathy part of you being human that puts them in.
Right.
Maybe the AI wouldn't know how to do that.
Yeah, maybe they wouldn't, or they would be like, "Hey, I need to put that player in so that he'll learn for next year."
Right. Yeah. There's that. But maybe he's a senior. There's a situation where he doesn't need to play. There's no value added to letting him play, but you feel bad.
Right.
There's that compassion part.
Yeah. So the fans will be happier having an AI as a coach. That's what you're saying.
I'm just saying maybe there might be some. I mean, I know it's a recent thing within the last decade, but a lot of teams now use real time computing to basically call plays.
Yeah,
they have people up in the box that are doing just that. They're running statistics. They're saying, "Hey, we need to do this at this moment with this much time left," and they give us a more statistical favored outcome.
Yeah, I think there's a point about humans being more empathetic, I think, for irrational reasons. Like this is horrible and I don't support this, but people who have genetic diseases that can be passed down, the more favorable thing for our species, not the smart thing,
right?
That would keep our genes clean would be like what Hitler did, right? Which is like get rid of what you think is like the bad genes, don't let people reproduce and so on. And I think that's what an AI would do, or like the war in Ukraine.
Yeah,
it would have been more advantageous to the rest of the world if we let Russia take Ukraine. Probably.
Right.
If it was truly just to take Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have like these crazy things going on,
shortages,
the gas prices, and so on, right? Not saying I support that. I'm just saying that that's what an AI would probably decide to do because it's more advantageous to society as a whole.
As a whole, yeah, globally, right? Less people.
But maybe it's not. Maybe the AI computes and says, actually, it's better to make sure that other countries don't think this is okay, or Russia thinks it's okay, or I don't know what it would think. But that sounds like the better in non-ethical terms, right?
So what you're saying is we need guardrails to ensure that the AI that are being developed now have guardrails to make decisions that are empathetic, compassionate, all the things that make humans. It's like that subreddit, humans being bros. It's just like a bunch of different stories or videos of people doing like being a good Samaritan, doing the right thing, helping other people out that are in need. It's like we need to make sure that we lead with that idea as a foundation baseline standard when going into this, which is good because OpenAI is the company that's leading the charge, and they've got that ChatGPT, and they claim to come from a place of moral ethics and
it's AI for humanity, not AI for war.
The sake of AI. But
crazy
interesting stuff. We'll probably have another podcast where we just give it prompts and.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Maybe we'll have Elon Musk on.
Yeah.
He's one of the founding members of OpenAI.
Basically.
You guys might know him from, there's a car company called Tesla.
Yeah.
He owns Twitter.
Maybe we heard
it's kind of like Facebook. Have you heard of PayPal?
Yeah.
You might have used PayPal back in the 90s, or I mean early 2000s, not
Back in
90s.
the day. Well, I guess that's a good place to end it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all those places. And if you want to, again, keep up with us and what we're drinking, make some of those tasty cocktails at home, please do check out our Instagram. We've got all the great recipes and photos of the drinks that we're drinking. This one was a really tasty one. We'll probably make this one again in the future with a slight twist. Yeah, and if you're interested in seeing what Myles and Sarah are doing and their state and national park traveling, go to Adventuring Eyes on Instagram, adventuringeyes.com. And until next time, folks, adios. Bye.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.